Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is October 8th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. You can see this cold air in this storm system just now starting to spin up out over our coastal waters. This will bring multiple rounds of precipitation with it, and of course some unsettled weather. There is a chance of some thunderstorm activity with it as well. And then after this system is hanging out with us for a few days, we're going to have another even chillier system drop down as we go towards this weekend. So we'll dive into all those details here as we go through the video this morning. And just a reminder, it is not too late to get one of these fun weather stations on your home or your apartment building. I mean, they're very easy to set up, not a lot of moving parts at all. You just set up a small unit inside and it talks to it back and forth. Great smartphone app as well, stores all the data for you in the cloud. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. So taking a look here at the Northern Hemisphere, a lot of people comment on this. They like this view of things. There's Japan right there. Hawaiian Islands, the bottom left. You can see the lower 48 states, bottom center. Africa way off to the right of this screen there, and there's Greenland. So as we go on into the fall and the winter months, we start to cool things down across the Northern Hemisphere, and you can kind of see that where the cold air is bottled up across, the North Pole regions here and some of the Arctic regions, and you can see the warmer air down across some of the equatorial regions. So if we put this into motion, you can see what is coming for us here in the Pacific Northwest on the grand scale of things. And you can kind of see that spinning off the coastline there. But then watch this next shot of cold air. You can see that it's a chillier system and sets up a little bit closer here to the Pacific Northwest. It's going to bring our first significant mountain snows for some areas, generally above a lot of the passes, at least initially, or what it's looking like right now. But this could be impactful for a lot of people off in the backcountry here and some of the higher terrain. We'll take a look at that more here in a moment. And if we scroll through here, I'm just going to let this play out a couple times because you can kind of see the ebb and flow of the tropospheric polar vortex here at about 18,000 feet or 500 millibars. Now, if we take a look at the corresponding jet stream, and again, this is the boundary between that colder air there across some of the polar areas and the warmer air across the equatorial regions. And if we go off into the extended forecast, I'll show you something here also. You can kind of see the jet stream get pointed across the Pacific Ocean here as we go on later portions of October. Maybe we'll get a bit more active and more typical fall weather systems into the region. Now, closer look at things here. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. This gives us a great idea of where the troughs and the ridges are. Ridging, warmer air, sinking air, less precipitation, generally less clouds. Troughing, you've got some colder air aloft, more convergence, more precipitation, and chillier weather generally speaking. Now, you can see the first trough dropping down off our coastline, retrogrades there a bit. And again, it's going to spread some multiple rounds of precipitation here across the region. There is the chance for a thunderstorm even west of the Cascades also. More on that here in a moment. But then you can see the next storm system drop down. And again, a chillier low. It's actually got a bit of Arctic air that's going to try to drop down into British Columbia. It is still early in the season, so the air is just not going to be cold enough. We're worried about lower elevation snowfall, but you can see quite a dynamic system here. And you're definitely going to feel it in the temperatures, and especially across the higher terrain. And again, multiple rounds of precipitation and thunderstorm activity, even possible with this one as well. Now, if we take a look at the ensemble mean, pretty good modeling agreement, everything considered. So there goes that first storm system, and then the second one. You can really see the models are locking in. And look at that huge ridge across the Gulf of Alaska with that northeast flow, allowing for this trough to carve back out over the Pacific Northwest. So looking at 500 millibar temperature, this is just the raw look at the temperature. You can see that, closed low just really get ramped up off our coastline. That kicks through, and then the next one, as you can see, it's even chillier. It sets up in a very similar spot, but it will be closer to the region. And again, that's what's going to bring us our very chilly temperatures as we go through the weekend. Now we're looking a little bit lower here, 5,000 feet. So we'll put this into motion, and the greens and the blues are below normal for this time of year at 5,000 feet. The reds and the oranges and the yellows are above normal. So you can see that upper level low that's with us here as we go on in through Friday morning, and then it starts to kick inland here as we go through the day Friday and on into Saturday. But then you see the next batch of cold air arrive, and you can really see that settle down across some of the interior portions of BC. And when this cold air spills off the coastline, you can kind of see the result. At least there will be a surface low here. I know this is at 5,000 feet, but you can kind of see that low pressure system there at 5,000 feet with much chillier air spilling down across the region. If I back that up, you can kind of see that horizon to central BC here as we go on in through Saturday night. We get into Sunday, and it really gets entrenched across the interior portions, and that's spilling off the continent there, West Canada, and pushing back into the Pacific Pacific Northwest, and we're going to have this upper level with us here on in through the early portion of next week. Now, so I'm not some crazy guy out there talking. This is the National Weather Service office here, and you can see they are talking about that pattern change coming up here as we go through the weekend. And by the way, for those of you guys that don't know me, I plan on working on a video. I work for Alaska Airlines, so I do a lot of forecasting for them. I'm an aircraft dispatcher. I talk to pilots about what kind of weather they can expect en route and what kind of weather they can expect at their destination and their alternate airports and all kinds of stuff like that. There's more to my job than just that, but just so you know a little bit of my background here, what I do during my day job here at Alaska Airlines. And I plan on working on a video on that and going over some of my past education and whatnot, and eventually putting that out because I do get some questions on that sometimes as well. But anyway, there's the Spokane National Weather Service office. Here is Missoula, and you can see winter-like conditions coming Saturday and Sunday here, and you can see the details, snow levels, dropping down towards 4,000 feet for some locations, and we've got some pretty good precipitation amounts even for some of the lower elevations with this storm system or this couple of storm systems coming in. So taking a look here at composite reflectivity, this is where we go on in through the day today, and as we pivot on in through tonight, you see some of that precipitation moving up across Oregon, up across western Washington, some of these bands of precipitation, moderate precipitation at times, and then we go on in through Thursday night into Friday, again multiple rounds. You can see that low pressure still spinning off the coast, and I'll speed through that a couple of times. You can kind of see the pattern showing up there, but there is the chance for some lightning with this activity. I don't know if we're going to destabilize enough for any of the activity west of the Cascades, but if we look at the high resolution rapid refresh, you can see it does show some of that lightning potential moving up across some of the Oregon Cascades, western Washington, and then eventually portions of southwest, northwest Oregon, southwest Washington, northwest Oregon there as we go on into Thursday night and again on in through Friday. Now, the European also has some of that thunderstorm activity there as well. You can see on Thursday night, Friday morning, you can see there is some thunderstorm potential. Spokane, Ritzville, maybe towards Moses Lake, as that system, again, is pinwheeling off our coastline. And it does show some of that potential even west of the Cascades here as we go on in through Friday. And then we go towards the weekend, and that chilly upper level low will be around. And you can see it might be unstable enough to kick off a couple thunderstorms. So 100-meter wind speeds, I'll put this into motion. Nothing too crazy there, but something interesting here when that Arctic air starts to settle down. You can see we kind of turn things northeasterly through the Fraser River Valley. A little bit of a sign of that, just a touch of Arctic air out there. Of course, it's not going to be bringing any lower elevation snowfall, but a different, picture is in store for some of the higher terrains and the mountainous areas. And I'll show you some of that more here in a moment. Now, looking at total snow in inches, that first system, as we go through Friday, you see just maybe a touch of snow for the very highest terrain. But as we go on in towards Saturday and Sunday, look at some of these amounts piling up. Again, generally above 4,000 feet, but Snoqualmie Pass could even get a little bit of snowfall there, although the surface is still fairly warm. Paradise, Cascades, Washington, Oregon, some of northeast Washington as well, Idaho Panhandle, some of the Rocky Mountains picking up some snowfall there, interior of British Columbia. So yeah, some pretty hefty totals if you look in some detail here. Some areas up over a foot once you get up across some of the higher terrain. And I know there's a lot of people off in the backcountry checking out peak fall colors and things like that. So heads up for this big pattern change as we go through this weekend and on in through next week. And this kind of gives you a good example of that. This is Mount Hood, the ski area. This is about 5,300 feet up, and you can see this top of the diagram is about 10,000 feet. You can really see the pattern change in the colder air aloft and getting all the way down towards the surface areas of the higher terrain there as we go on in through this weekend and on in through the early portion of next week. Great cross section there starts here on today. There's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and as you get on into the day Sunday, those very cold air aloft arrives. Same thing for Paradise. Same thing for Mount Baker ski area there also. Now, taking a look at Paradise, for example, you can see these temperatures as we go through Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then we don't warm up too much as we go through next week, but you can see the chilliest air there on in through Monday. Stevens Pass, something similar there as well. I would not rule out some snow down towards the road area, at least maybe on Sunday and Monday, a little bit of that action going on there. Highway 2, Snoqualmie Pass, maybe brief accumulations where you might see some snow flying. But again, the biggest totals are going to be generally above the Snoqualmie Pass. Now, if we look at that, you can kind of see it shows maybe an inch or two there for Snoqualmie Pass, but again, the surface is going to be a little bit too warm, I think, to get a really significant accumulating snowfall on the roadway. Stevens Pass, better amounts there. Stevens Pass is higher. Snoqualmie is 3,000 feet. Stevens Pass is close to 4,000 feet. Now, looking at the artificial intelligence and the GFS, let's see if they show the same thing. Well, in the short term, yes, they do with this upper level low. And again, that will be pinwheeling rounds of precipitation here as we go on in towards the early portion of the weekend. And then as we're going on through Sunday, you can see we're starting to get some pretty good model agreement there on this chilly upper level low setting up right across the region. So yeah, we do have good model agreement there. What's going to happen after that? Well, as you go towards hour 200, of course, we start to disagree quite dramatically, showing some ridging on the artificial intelligence and another system moving through on the GFS. We're not going to worry too much about that just yet. And if we take a look at total precipitation here on the ensembles, I picked the 75th percentile to kind of increase the impact a little bit there. But by the time we go on in through Monday, you can see an inch and a quarter there for Seattle, some bigger amounts across the higher terrain. You can see the Oregon coastline getting a good shot all the way down through Northern California. Of course, lesser amounts east of the mountains, but across some of the higher terrain, you're getting up over an inch, maybe 2 inches all the way up towards the Rockies for some select locations. And watch this apparent temperature. This takes into account some wind chill to it as well. But you can see as we go through the day today, there we go on in through the day tomorrow on Thursday, and then we go through Friday coming up there, and then we start to cool off quite dramatically. Look at by the time there's Saturday afternoon, then we go into Sunday morning, and look at this by Sunday morning. I mean, the whole region is pretty darn right chilly all the way out, except maybe the immediate coastline still in the 50s there. But interior portions, look at that, kind of brisk for Seattle, Portland, or downright cold for this time of year. And some of the higher terrains, look at that, into the 20s, maybe some teens showing up there in some of the wind chill values. So yes, definitely be prepared for this pattern change across the higher terrain. Look at Eastern Oregon. You are pretty darn right chilly by Sunday morning. And then we go through Monday morning, something similar there as well. I mean, look at Seattle. It's going to feel like 41 degrees. What a shock to the system coming up. Now, looking at the extended forecast a little bit, again, there's our first upper level low, and then the secondary one, which is the colder system right there. Look at this massive kink in the jet stream there, carving out the trough. And then as we go into the extended forecast, maybe a break for a couple days, but you can see the jet stream wants to get active here as we go through the extended forecast. Continues to kind of show that the jet is extended all the way across the Pacific Ocean from Japan, all the way across the Gulf of Alaska, back towards the Pacific Northwest. That could bring some more active and different weather here to the region. 6 to 10 day below normal and kind of a mixed bag there. Whatever, take that with a grain of salt. Check out the Patreon page as well. And hopefully you guys are liking these videos. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.